Let's have a bit of fun till I downfall. My love, if you feel like I do right now, don't say you're on the run to the other side, my love. But you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose. You say you wanna cry, but you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose. Let's have a bit of fun till I downfall. My love, if you feel like I do right now, don't say you're on the run to the other side, my love. You say you wanna try, but you never do. Sugar, there's a reason why we lose.
Esports trying to find what angle they can, trying to find somebody out of position.
We're gonna go through on this. Oh, what a roll! See White gonna go in.
It's going to be a really, really interesting one.
Oh my god. All of this competition could be so damn close, so I cannot wait for us to finally decide who's going to be the champion. We are expecting some chaos, some great moments.
Beast Mode has killed 3. Only gonna really need that rampage, so it's gonna clear it out. Santi gonna get themselves a big old 4K. Oh. Santi's getting rid of 3, clearing out the house.
That is crazy.
Nunji actually kills 3 people.
This team feels entirely different on this faster composition. Now Saga Fort is hanging around, getting onto the high ground. Post bomb's gonna stick under Leaky. They're not gonna be able to survive it at the end of the day. Manages to find a 3K.
Rio shoving this Ana into a corner. Woo! One more for the road for Rio.
That is all signs go. Melophobia with 3 Melophobia. Start the fight. They'll end the fight. Oh my god. Beaglebus, they have to play aggressively into this energy. Popping off in a moment where you needed just that. Ruby in that backline. Oh, the flick. Looking for it. Oh, my goodness. The fourth one as well. Do they get the ace? They get the ace.
Welcome back to CGL, everybody. We are back here in our North America, looking at our Masters Division. We are here in the lower bracket. We've got a fantastic matchup between Low Ground Maids and Vesuvius. Both these teams with their playoff hopes on the line here. The winner moves on, and the loser is done for the season. So, of course, the stakes could not be higher, folks. It is Rags and Shadowfang bringing you all the action here tonight. Shadowfang, I'm expecting some great things between these two teams here.
I think this is going to be a really competitive game tonight. I'm right here with you. It's really like it's been Low Ground Main, Vesuvius, The Fallen, Visored, Atlas Kasoku. All of these teams in this tier have been super competitive with each other all season. It can go either way on any given night, as we've seen by the fact that basically all the higher seeds got knocked down to the lower bracket to start this playoff run.
Yeah, it's basically either 3 O's or 3 2s so far in the playoffs. These teams either come at it with their strongest possible game, or it goes all the way to 5 maps. So we're expecting to see some solid competition between these two, but of course, you know, looking at the lower bracket so far, it's been a lot of 3-0 sweeps here. Visored, of course, already punching their ticket to the round 3 of the lower bracket here, so the victor today still will have a tall order ahead of them just to move on in the lower bracket and now hopefully get a chance to play in the grand finals here. But again, there's just so many strong teams, like you're saying, in this division here who've made it to the playoff stage and that are just feeling so good and so confident in themselves and really have a strong knowledge of where their opponents are playing at pretty much all times.
I mean, honestly, if I was to rank the teams in this tier, I think the 5 left are the 5 best teams remaining. So it's really tragic that one of these two has to leave. Low Ground Main is like a perennial top team in this tier. They pretty much always are like second, third place, first place. They're always near the top of the tier. So it would be really crazy for them to lose. And speaking of which, here is that roster of Low Ground Main. You're going to have Kind and Pred on the... You're going to have Kind and Pred on that DPS, and it's looking like High Quality is going to be running that tank role, I'm guessing, tonight. And then we're going to have Swag Daddy 69 and Saucer on that support line. Really strong lineup here for this team.
Yeah, some really incredible work coming out from them. I got to see their earliest match here in the lower bracket, and they put it to excellent use going through the entire way there. High Quality is a fantastic and very flexible tank, it has to be said, leading the charge all the way through. And that's something we've come to expect here from this team. Just looking really good and being able to adapt to many situations, not necessarily just low grounds, as it were.
No, absolutely. And I mean, if Low Ground Main decides to get creative, High Quality is actually a really strong Lucio player as well. If they decide to get creative with it, I doubt it though. When you have a tank that's able to play so many different roles like that, you tend to want to keep them on that same role for the most part.
Yeah, you really want to play to your strengths. And as we have a look at our second team in the server, it is Vesuvius looking at Gravelet and Jubs here for your DPS line, Shadowy as your tank, Balakay and Ham Sandwich for your supports to start things off. So again, a solid roster coming into this so far. We'll see if that Orisa comes out at any point. I think a lot of teams are shying away from the Battle Cattle, but I think she plays spoiler to so many of the more dominant tanks right now. So if you really are looking at a sideways angle against the current meta compositions, I think that is certainly a tank hero that could lead you to victory.
Oh, it absolutely is. I always make the joke that the reason they gave Orisa the referee skin is because if Orisa comes out, that's when the fun stops right there. Penalties on the play constantly. That's when the fun is going to end. Orisa is really good at countering a lot of tanks, as you mentioned, that are running the meta right now. Just kind of putting them in a corner and not letting them do much of anything.
All right, folks, we have a look quick at our map, what we're going to head to for our first map of the series. We're going to have a look at Nepal here in just a little bit as our first one of the evening's, entire series here. So Well, see, it's honestly a bit of a surprise. Most of these teams have loved picking Lijiang Tower as their first diving into these series, so I'm delighted to see some variation here, a chance to see some potentially different compositions. Of course, control is control, kind of no matter where you are, but we might have to wait just a few moments until we get to see the map itself, folks. Just sorting things out behind the scenes between our rosters here. We'll be back in just a few moments after a quick break, but do not go anywhere. We'll have this match as soon as we're done. Welcome back, folks. Just had to have a quick moment. We made sure all of our ducks were in a row, all of our players ready to begin the match that we have before us here. And of course, still the case that we are heading to Nepal for our first map in the series here. I mean, it's a bit of a break from the constant Lijiang Tower we're getting as our initial control map. So certainly points for, novelty there at the very least. But it also should indicate that we have some interesting compositions they might want to roll out on here.
Honestly, it leads me to think maybe there's potential to see some Symmetra here. I think Symmetra can be really, really strong on this map, as opposed to, she's really good on Lijiang as well, but she's, really, really good on 2 out of the 3 maps here on Nepal, so you can kind of just bank on that if that's, where your head is at. And Vesuvius going to have that first ban right now. If Vesuvius is thinking something along those lines, because I do believe Vesuvius was our higher seeded team, so they were able to pick this map. If they're thinking that, I'm thinking they're going to ban some sort of DPS hero. I don't know if that's like a Reaper, a Cass, an Ashe, something along those lines, but that's going to be my guess. And it's the Sojourn, so something close to that at least.
Yeah, certainly one of those more popular picks, kind of on all map types right now here, but certainly on control, plenty of possibilities, opportunities. Nepal really has so much room to work with as a Sojourn, so many off angles to take on all 3 of these sub-maps here, and plenty of high ground to launch those rail shots in. So yeah, really an annoyance that you want to have out of your opponent's hands, of course, and your own at the same time, but that does indicate that you're not looking to run that sort of composition yourself. Maybe running something a bit more Reaper focused, a bit more Tracer focused could easily stand you in good stead.
Well, and this also leads me to think that there's potential that you want to get rid of the disruptor field if you're thinking, I'm really thinking about that sim comp in my brain a lot right now. So I don't know. And the Zarya ban coming out from low ground main leads me to believe that low ground main wants to force this Ramatra mirror. They don't want any possibility of anything else being played on this map.
Yeah, Ramatra kind of the go-to hero on this map, and of course, if you want to play spoiler to that, it would be the Zarya. So yeah, I fully agree that that really does set the stage for a Ram v Ram punch and block-a-thon between these two here. But again, if you want to try and play things at a bit of a different angle there, there's room to run the Hazard, there's room to run that Orisa, especially when you talk about the environmental capacity that we have, certainly on, I would argue, 2 of the points, and if you want to get crazy, there's some spaces you could fight on Village that really could send a Lucio, for example, spinning off into the drink.
Yeah, there's a distinct possibility for some environmental shenanigans on this map. A good bit of it, honestly. Yeah, more than I would think about, actually, now that you mention it. Kind of crazy. But, and here we have our rosters once again, just to throw those out there for you. I am still erring towards the bunker style, like, I don't know. I'm really feeling that Symmetra for some reason here. Maybe I'm completely off base. Maybe I've just been watching too much of Twisted Minds, but we'll just have to see.
I mean, if it works so well for the pros, why wouldn't it work here? And of course, both these teams hovering that out the gate here. Still have a good 15 seconds before we see if that comes to fruition, or if it's just an early TP strat to get the team out there. But with as good as it has looked at the highest levels of play, I agree with you, Shadow. I think it'd be a decent thing to bring into the equation here. And I do love, currently, the Wuyong Kiri out for low ground main. Are they going to stick with that? Or are they going to swap to... Yep, they're sticking with the Wuyong. I love this variation on the composition here. We've got very different looks from these teams. Only the Kiri the same between them.
Yeah, this is going to be a really interesting matchup here. Gravelot, I think, is going to be really key landing these dynamites on this Ashe. You've got to get that high value from that damage so that you can follow up on it with your Orisa.
Shadowy here as expected on the Orisa, so looking not to play into the Ram mirror here and immediately get a kill onto high quality. That's excellent value being gained for you right off the rip here for the side of Vesuvius. Already 2 kills, make that a 3rd going their way as Gravelette on this Ashe, able to outrange the competition so effectively here with these clever little high grounds that you're going to have access to.
And that's really going to be the key difference here. You'll notice Pred not really able to do that much on the cast and just being purely outranged, and then you've just got an Orisa in your face the second you try and get within close range. I think getting rid of the Sojourn was a really, really smart play from Vesuvius because that would offset a lot of what Pred is struggling with right now.
Oh yeah, it certainly does force things into a tempo that you might not be so comfortable with yourself here. So much damage being landed onto that Orisa, but able to get that Suzu. Plenty of healing coming your way in those few moments there. As Gravelette here on the high ground is having to contend with both the DPS and just quite can't manage that 2v1 duel. Pred able to hit Ham Sandwich as well. Does mean no one's left alive to support Shadowy, and the tank falls just before getting that Terra Surge online. So point flip and only 39% gain for Vesuvius.
And I really feel like it's the Wuyong difference right there in that fight. Ham Sandwich doing a lot on that Lucio, but that spam damage coming in from the Wuyong is just helping the tank for the side of Vesuvius. Shadowy win out that duel just a little bit faster, and Kind taking down Gravelot early is not going to be too hopeful either for Vesuvius.
No, Kind has been absolutely a menace in the backline so far. Seeing, of course, the dual Orisas now at this point as high quality has decided if you cannot beat them, join them, and yeah, very much doing that thing. In fact, deciding why don't we just beat them while we're at it as well. And another clean fight win, only spending that pulse bomb out from Kind.
Yeah, high quality, doing the thing that Orisa does best. I always say it's existing really hard in that general direction, right? You just shoot over that way and everything eventually dies to the Orisa spam. This fight, though, we have a lot of ultimates available from either side. Everything but the Pulse Bomb going to be online for low ground main, and everything going to be online for Vesuvius.
Opening things up with a Bob on the objective. Such an excellent contest he provides. Oh, but that Tidal Blast onto the Tracer. Kind proving to be unkind there. Certainly cleans up the back line. 2 for 1. That Ashe doing so much work there on the objective, but still the kills getting traded either way here. We are down to, I think, just 1v2 on the objective itself. Point still in low ground main's favor until it gets flipped at 71 here for Vesuvius. A really intense but quick fight.
Oh, that's a tough one to lose if you're low ground main, just namely because you didn't get sound barrier out. Like, granted, you took down Ham Sandwich early enough that they weren't able to use sound barrier, but then you weren't able to follow up on that and win the fight. So now they have sound barrier available for this next fight, and nothing that they have to be really concerned about.
No, it's certainly not when you have this Terra Surge ready to go, locking up as many bodies. And of course, on the other side, we have one coming out as well. That Bat is a swinging for Jubs, the Dragon Blade, trying to lock up the backline here in these tight corridors. Just beating a hasty retreat for now, but Shadowy and High Quality facing down the Orisa duel as well in these very, very tight scenarios. But it looks like Vesuvius come out the victors here, and again, all ults remaining burned. Only Kind's Pulse Bomb left in this next fight.
And Kind has to be big time. We've seen them be big time a few times here, taking down Gravelot early. That 1v1 has to be won by low ground main here. Otherwise, you're going to really struggle to get started in this fight.
Low ground main very conscious of the need to touch the objective here. They're going to have the blinks come in for Kind, just able to dodge around the objective. Oh, I was going to say save the Pulse Bomb, but nope, Kunai is going to stop that plan well and truly there. As low ground main still fighting the objective, Gravelot does fall down, so Shadowy is still facing a ton of scrutiny, a bunch of pressure coming out from the front line still remaining of low ground main. Pred doesn't even get a chance to go for the Deadeye, gets taken down immediately. All that's left is High Quality on the objective, and the support's trying to maintain that Orisa, and it is not to be. Plenty of ults to go, but no one alive to use them as low ground main fall before Vesuvius in the first round.
There was just a couple more plays made by Vesuvius than there was by low ground main. Like I said, that big ult exchange fight, High Quality going down first and Shadowy just being able to kind of just be there on Orisa and just be this unkillable warhorse, and winning that particular fight out was really the big turning point, because low ground main didn't get back to their ultimates again. Kind got up to that Pulse Bomb, but then Balake turns around and just, two taps with the Kiriko kunais, and that's just kind of where the fight was lost. It felt like you had so much time to try and retake that, but you really didn't. You only had 2 fights, and that is sometimes not enough time to get those ults back online.
No, very much felt time working against them, but now, of course, Vesuvius being pushed back a little bit here on their initial aggression, but it is Gravelot still trying to find these long angles, gets a Javelin to the face. That's going to put a pause in your step, and not just for the stun for a moment longer there. Pred here on this high ground, trying to find an off angle here, but you're going to be outranged by that Ashe if she's allowed to get too much more momentum here. You do have the barrier coming through. That perk decision out here from High Quality, determined to play a bit more defensive style of an Orisa here. Swag Daddy's able to clean up Jubs. That Genji just a little too annoying there on the backline. And so low ground main, they have that Tracer on the point, that flexibility, incredibly vital to get first control.
Absolutely. I really like this swap over to the Juno Brig as well. Gives you a little bit more sustain from that back line. Not as much poke damage, but when your Orisa is just in their face like High Quality is right now, you don't necessarily need the more poke damage.
Pred just landed 3 crits in a row there. Incredible work. Consistent stuff out here from the Cassidy. Very nice cleanup kills coming through. As low ground main are building up to a nice suite of ultimates here where Vesuvius, I mean, they're kind of being shoved back behind this main entryway constantly here.
It's tough for them to get through. The shield, the High Quality shield is actually doing a lot of work right now, because it's just basically completely denying that angle until the side of Vesuvius is right in their face. They do have the Kitsune Rush online here, but there's going to be an orbital ray to match it from low ground main, and then Pred just does that,
Yeah, that Silver Bullet absolutely clinical alongside the Deadeye to clean up Ham Sandwich. Make it a third for Pred here. This Cassidy eventually falls the hands of Shadowy, but your work truly has been done. And yeah, that's the only casualty in that fight, still with 4 ults left to defend with.
And that's the key, right? You don't waste any ultimates there. You pop Deadeye. Not a super impactful ultimate. It was impactful right there, but not a super consequential ultimate. And here comes the next fight on point. Kitsune Rush already coming out from Balake.
Even force Gravelot onto this Sombra here with the Terra Surge locking up Shadowy, able to escape, and up for taking a massive chunk of damage. Does have one of his own, but that Pulse Bomb out from Kind does find Ham Sandwich there, and all the spinning up in the world will do you no good when there's so much focus being paid towards you from the side of low ground main. That rally should be the nail in the coffin here as Vesuvius. They're just going to be able to touch here if that, but we are well and truly at the final percentage points being gained on the objective, and a late kill onto Gravelot. It is the touch coming through from Shadowy back on the Wrecking Ball, and the Sound Bearer laying only onto Balakay and a Ham Sandwich here just to support as that overhealth dwindles away. There's so little you can actually do to stand up to the incredible might coming out here from the remaining heroes on the objective, but the Blade from Jubs is trying to be the hero this team needs, but unfortunately not the one it gets. And that is going to be them falling by the wayside as Vesuvius. A heroic round one, but low ground main, they battle back with a vengeance, taking Village 100-0.
And I mean, just completely dominant fashion from low ground main as well. They essentially just forced Vesuvius into kill boxes time and time again. High Quality just kind of shoving his face into directly wherever they were on this Orisa and not really allowing them to think about the angles they were trying to rotate through and whatnot. Like I said, we just continuously saw them not able to really do too much there on the side of Vesuvius. And it looks like low ground main going to continue to stick with this Juno Brig. I really like this support lineup right now. It's been working well for them.
Yeah, I think it really provided an excellent adaptation for them, especially considering High Quality wants to have the flexibility that the shield build of the Orisa allows. It really gives you not a full bunker setup essentially here, but it does provide you the room to work with. It allows you to run the slightly slower Brigitte and of course the aerial-based Juno there, really giving flexibility to heal up everybody at a moment's notice. However, you still have to worry about the range on this Ashe. This is really a point where Gravelot can come alive here if you're not too careful about it. Low ground main has to be very cautious about their approach every single time. You'll see that shield from Saucer can be about as thin as a Saucer if you're not too careful about it, but Jubs back here on this Reaper might be just the thing to open things up for Vesuvius there. Getting a kill onto Swag Daddy should be just enough to force the rest of low ground mains back in a situation they certainly do not want to find themselves here. No shield perk here from Shadowy, instead for the Javelin charge perk, but that is first control being gained for Vesuvius. Javelin lands onto Jubs, but that Reaper plenty healthy enough, not too worried at all. The fight continues to be ongoing here. Despite all the heroics, despite the position being jockeyed for, it is Jubs falling, but Pred soon after does mean it's a 1-for-1 trade here, so the objective still being fought over. High Quality does have that shield down on point, but fighting over that with the Orisa, they have to watch out for each other's. Yep, that spin could easily spell a quick and hasty doom down into the depths here. Gravelot about to have this Bob online, putting in so much damage here. Going on the objective, that's a Terra Surge locking up the remaining members, but that Bob there is the greatest answer you could possibly hope for. The rally from the Brig should be just enough to keep you in this fight here, really trying to put a hurt onto Shadowy before you can build up that Terra Surge of his own. And that is going to be Pred along with the rest of low ground main fighting back with a vengeance. It was a messy and drawn out engagement, but they will get the point flip, spending just a couple ults there, but oh god, it certainly has to be worth it for them.
Oh, absolutely worth it for the side of low ground main. Getting the point flip while forcing out that Tidal Blast as well is huge, honestly. And I think now this is the spot where the side of low ground main's comp will work a lot better because you're able to stuff them more into these angles as the Kitsune Rush comes out from Balake early.
Yeah, laying through as well. An answer is that Orbital Ray, and Kind is the one there cleaning up two already. Balake is able to answer, but that might be a little bit too late. Shadowy as well getting taken down by High Quality. And that is a solid fight win there off the back of just the Juno ult. Fred, however, is going for a Deadeye right into the opponent's spawn. Yeah, doesn't actually get anything cleaned up with that, but as we mentioned, that kill, however, might have gotten a bit too close for comfort.
Yeah, that is not what you want to see. You don't like to get to have that traded out right there. There's a Terra Surge and a Death Blossom going to be available for Vesuvius, so this could be big time here momentarily.
Blade out from Kind, trying to lock up the remaining members of Vesuvius, and this Gravelot falling, but Kind is the next casualty here again. 1 down, but that rally out from Saucer should hold on for moments longer here. You do have Jubs teleporting directly onto you. You know that Death Blossom is ready to go. You have to play so carefully. That shield is not going to do very much in the face of such overwhelming damage here, but the Terra Surge out from High Quality should be the thing to lock up Shadowy once again on the objective, but Shadowy has one in return. In fact, it's the first one to go for it, but so much damage being put in when you are stationary like that. Pred does not need to miss those shots when you are not moving. However, does fall down, so even for all his trouble there, is just enough to hold the door against the opposition. It's a costly fight for both these teams, but still, with control being gained for low ground main, you gotta favor that.
Oh, yes, absolutely. Already at 80%. We're basically in last fight territory right here for the side of low ground main. So even if you lose this, not the biggest deal in the world. The Tidal Blast is going to be online, as well as that Death Blossom and Bob available for Vesuvius. If you're low ground main, what I think you really want to do here is just try and force out as many ults as you can.
Finding out Gravelot early, that is a massive early win here for low ground main. 3 kills already for the blue team here, and that's going to be it. There's no one left to touch. Shadowy meets an untimely demise on the objective. Oh god, that is a gruesome sight to witness. And that, yeah, the tumbleweed rolling is part of the victory screen. You gotta love it. That is going to clean things up here on Nepal. For the side of low ground main, Vesuvius had such a strong first point here, but low ground main, they looked indomitable in the second two.
It was really once low ground main changed up their support comp to just something that was giving them a little bit more poke damage or sustain, like, you know, picking one or the other instead of just hovering in the middle, right? Because it seems like these teams are either going for the Kiriko Wu Yang, Juno Brig. That's like the two alternatives that we were seeing right there. And once they were able to really solidify that that's what they wanted to do, they wanted to just go for the higher sustain comp, pump high quality full of as much healing as possible, and let high quality run through the enemy team. If we can do that, then we're going to be successful here. And again, Pred and Kind were both absolutely killing it as well on their counterparts also. But that was just the way it seemed like to me, is that they just wanted high quality to be able to stuff the other team into a corner as hard as possible.
Yeah, the further we got into it, essentially once the Orisa mirror really came to light, it really felt that high quality was able to benefit even more from that backline, especially as you were saying there, with the swap to the Brig Juno on Village. Just seemed to be such a more comfortable place for the composition there, rather than, you know, on the first point where it was just, you didn't quite have the flexibility that you wanted. You didn't quite have the support, the initial sustain that you were going for there. Of course, the swap to Orisa midway through was certainly a boon to them, but yeah, I mean, we saw a 100-0% take on Village, and of course, on our final point, it was not that disparate of a scoreline there, but still incredible defense, especially being played here by low ground mains. They were really able to hold those doors at all stages.
Yeah, it was really like once they were able to take that point, they were able to stop the Wu Yang Kiriko from getting all that spam damage in. And then it's like, hey, our sustain comp is better now that you can't poke us anymore. We're just not going to allow you to poke us. You no longer get to walk in a spot where you can shoot those little water balls at us.
Yeah, that was clearly something that they were having difficulty with, but once they were able to sort of set their own tempo, set the stage in their own way, really lights out performance from them. Like very solid adaptations coming out from low ground mains here, so I'm really looking forward to see where we head for our next ones coming up for the rest of the series here. So I mean, honestly, where you take this, if you want to keep running more of the same, I didn't think the comps coming out from Vesuvius were bad by any means. I think they looked pretty solid on them. It just unfortunately was being a little bit outpaced and a little bit outsustained by the side. And of course, that's what that Brig Juno can really do for you, especially once both of them have their ults online. You can just cycle those two support ultimates, and that can really just win you fight after fight after fight.
It most certainly can. And if you're wanting to continue to do the same thing, I was going to say you can go like a King's Row, but going Esperanza, you can continue to run these low ground based compositions and just kind of run at each other with these brawl styles. It does leave the door open for like a Diva style. We saw Gravelot run a little bit of that Sombra as well. I do believe Vesuvius likes playing that Wrecking Ball. That can be an option for you here. I think Diva's in a little bit better state than Wrecking Ball right now, but that can also be an option as we go into the bans.
Yeah, of course, unless we get a Sojourn ban from the opposite side, we're going to have access to that hero once again here. I mean, if Vesuvius want to really double down on the pain points, you might want to get the Cassidy out of Pred's hands, but having seen what that player can do, not just with the Cassidy, but also with the Sojourn, I think you're kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't. So I might focus, I agree, on something a bit more. Nope, they decided that is the angle they're going to go with. All right, so yeah, I mean, that was one of your greatest sore spots in the first map, so you're hoping you're going to fare better with the Sojourn, but she's going to be back in the pool anyway, so you really have to go with it.
Yeah, I don't disagree with the decision here at all. It makes perfect sense. We saw how well Pred was playing that round. It was either going to be that or Genji, with Kind playing that. So if you're not going to go the Genji, then that makes perfect sense to me. If you're low ground main, I think you go ahead and you ban Wu Yang, right? You don't like the poke comp, generally speaking, and if you get rid of Wu Yang, that does that. But I also did mention Vesuvius likes playing Wrecking Ball, so this also makes perfect sense to me.
Yeah, I mean, you want to force, essentially, if they're going to run this dive, they want to run at speeds, they're going to need to run that Diva, essentially, to make that work for you. So, yeah, it is the Cassidy and the ball off the table. And yeah, if you've got such a strong read in your opposition, knowing that they want to run the ball, and of course, High Quality has a lot of tanks in the pool there, so I don't know if Wrecking Ball is quite at the top of his list, but plenty of flexibility if you want to either stick with that Orisa. I honestly, for both these teams, now that you cannot pick Wrecking Ball, I might stick with the Orisa until it stops working, until those wheels come off here. But if, again, they're trying to play that faster pace, if they really want to worry about, if they're assuming there's going to be a Sojourn back in the mix, I think Diva is still kind of your best bet there.
I think so too. I think a Diva-based composition, you run like some Diva Sojourn Tracer, and I think you could play like Kyria Lucio with it, and that'll work incredibly well for you. That could be an option here. We could see everybody just go back to the Orisa, play that sustain style that we saw map number 1 as well. Ramatra's on the board, Zarya's back in the mix now, especially once you get the perk where you can just double jump onto where you can I always say right click, jump onto the high grounds. You can do that too, you know? So I don't think Zarya is actually a bad shout here. I think it kind of will deny a lot of the Orisa play because you could just burn that Orisa so fast.
Yeah, if you're worried about that Orisa, I think Zarya is absolutely the way to go here. And again, if you're already running the Zarya, the Reaper doesn't have quite as much of a field day on Esperanza as, say, on your control maps do. There's not quite as many back rooms and routes to take, but alongside the Venture, maybe, I also wouldn't hate that. If you're trying to run like a Tracer Venture, even a Soj Venture, I think both of those could be solid targets for that bubble capacity that, of course, Zarya has to lend to her teammates whenever she's not fortifying herself in the front line. So, yeah, if you're having such trouble with the Orisa composition, I think playing something that really forces an Orisa to look in multiple directions at once could be a solid form of Kryptonite.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that, and especially because if you're Vesuvius and you've brought us to this map instead of to a King's Row, it must be for a reason that you don't want to play that brawl style. There must be some sort of variation on the composition that you're wanting to play right now. Like I said, I think that variation was Wrecking Ball, so that's kind of unfortunate. I was actually gonna bet that they were gonna run Wrecking Ball Tracer Sombra. They might still run Tracer Sombra with the Diva and just be rude like that, because EMP is still a really strong ultimate, even if Sombra herself is not like the strongest per se at the moment.
And we saw Gravelot also go for that Sombra pick on Village. Of course, that was the 100-0, but it was a bit of a late game swap just to try and play spoiler to that Orisa composition. But yeah, if you're not as worried about that, if you think that is a strong answer to your opponent's angle here, it kind of depends on what low ground main want to run here. I think we are kind of expecting Vesuvius here to play a bit more reactively, to have to be the ones to adapt here in the situation, whereas low ground main kind of get to play their own game here. They kind of get to set the tempo, as of course they did for Nepal. So yeah, it is really up to the team taking us here. But as you said, Shadow, I think that it's gonna be tough without the Wrecking Ball. I think they were counting on that, and I also don't know that they were I think they're probably counting on having the ball in here. I don't think they're expecting a ban coming into this map, but looks like low ground mains very much have done their homework.
Oh, they most certainly have, and it looks like Vesuvius is thinking about running this Winston dive, which makes sense because low ground main is taking your advice and going for this Ventures pick with the Wu Yang Kiriko this time. I really like this comp from low ground main. I'm a big fan of the comp from Vesuvius, but if your bubble placement is not perfect as shadowy, it's going to be really hard to get that high value out of this Winston.
It feels like low ground main's comp is already an answer to what Vesuvius are rolling out with here. It's just kind of a tough position to be in starting from the gate. And I agree, I think that Winston's going to have a difficult job managing all these dive heroes here. Apart from the Zarya, everyone has such high mobility on the side of low ground main that who are you really going to jump on here? The Zarya, she's going to love eating up all that damage with that bubble, just gaining more and more charge for those beams to laser down your poor Winston face. But it turns out, as long as you've got a Genji, all things are possible here. Jub's the one to clean up Pred first, and combining for a kill onto Swag Daddy afterwards. That is going to be the side of Vesuvius getting an early lead here with the bot.
That was just honestly a great play from Jubs and Shadowy. Just jumping in perfect unison at the exact right time to manage to get that kill. If that wasn't, like I said, it has to be perfect. But if it's perfect, it's going to look really good like that. But that's how it has to look for this comp to be successful.
Already seeing swaps coming out in answer. High quality falling dangerously low. Has to play a bit more carefully. Gets healed up by now an Ana Brig backline here. So Saucer, again, already piloted this Brig to great effect, but caught in a small place with the Winston. Not exactly where you want to be, but Saucer very much wise to grab a lot's tricks here, as well as Ham Sandwich falling down. That is going to be a quick 3K here for the side of low ground main, taking down Jubs and Shadowy. A full team kill. Low ground main on the back of some support swaps. Really feeling themselves already.
Yeah, Ana Brig, really strong backline, able to defend off those dives a lot better. Like, all you have to do is proc Inspire, and it's like almost impossible for a Genji to kill you solo. That healing is like just enough. And like I said, if it's not an absolutely perfect dive, low ground main's comp is going to win out in the end.
Yeah, so we're expecting perfection every single time. Kind gets that re-emerge kill on to Ham Sandwich, but does pay for it in kind. Haha, high quality, however, is still trying to maintain presence here on the high ground, but the bot has not been pushed any further than Vesuvius pushed, so it's going to be low ground main, still playing a body down, having to fall back just a little bit towards the mid. Those bubbles keeping high quality alive for a few moments longer. Saucer, yep, that is a tough spot to be in. That Tesla Cannon does not at all care about your shield. Swag Daddy as well, getting taken down, and that is a Pulse Bomb to clean this one up. Kind, what a delightful return to the fight this would be. Have a present, it's a Pulse Bomb. Vesuvius with 4 ults in this next fight.
It's a fantastic play there from Gravelot. That should confirm the checkpoint for the side of Vesuvius going into this next fight. But again, it was just, you let that one kill come through. Balake, again, Balake's doing a great job on this Kiriko right now, just not really allowing themselves to be attacked by anybody. They're just constantly landing these kunais.
Yeah, this backline very much lethal here on the side of Vesuvius. The blade out from Jubs, just trying to lock things up. And speaking of getting locked up, that grab is just enough to clean up the Genji. Shadowy gets away with a sliver of health as the Primal Rage wears off. Gets topped up by the support line. So this is going to be Vesuvius continuing their push. There is some contest to be had on the bot. Finally gets twisted around as well, as just not enough bodies left alive for Vesuvius. They're still going to find, having this Tracer duel here on the high ground, entirely divorced from the actual objective itself. We'll see who comes out the winner. Pred, so close to finding the kill. Gravelot gets taken down. That is the victory there for low ground main. And while that was happening, the bot has been moving this entire time, folks. So it is going to be, once again, the tanks jockeying for position here around the actual object of fascination that is the payload, the bot itself. Doesn't quite make the high ground jump there, but Kind has the tectonic shock and lays it down over the backline, able to dive through his incredible speed onto the opposition here. Lays some more damage, but doesn't quite confirm a kill from it. No one able to follow up on that massive amount of damage coming through. And with the rush out from Balake, I mean, Vesuvius have turned this one all the way around.
They absolutely have. Just great ult usage here. Kind getting Ham Sandwich, though, could be huge because you lose that sound barrier, and the Nano does go out onto high quality. I don't know if you're necessarily going to be able to get much value out of it here, but you are going to get the cart movement at least.
Yeah, more of a deterrent than anything else, I'd have to guess. But of course, Nano, very valuable, and losing both your backline, even more value being lost on the side of low ground main here at Vesuvius. I mean, they're just allowing the bot to come back to the neutral, but they are able to rally together so effectively when it's in their territory.
Yes, anytime the side of low ground main is just in the open whatsoever. And I mean, look at that, another pulse bomb from Gravelot, just staggering out Kind a little bit longer. Gravelot just killing it on this Tracer right now. Gravelot and Balake in particular just continuing to get these little stagger kills and not allowing low ground main to regroup with their full team.
Finally seeing high quality here on this Diva instead. Of course, usually it's a good time into the Winston, but not when the rest of the team is fully charged up. Jubs does fall in, get a little bit too close for comfort, and gets taken down for his trouble. So we are still playing a body down here for Vesuvius. The low ground main certainly have the advantage as they try to chase away the remnants, and that kill on a shadow is absolutely massive. It's really going to allow them a lot more room to work with here. But again, forward spawn still active for Vesuvius.
Yes, they are. So we're going to have another fight at the midpoint here, but low ground main looking a lot more composed now than they were a little bit earlier. Grappalot going for a very long flank right now, trying to basically flip map position on the side of low ground main, but not sure where this is going to go right now.
We've seen Grappalot every time they take these very long rotations is able to buy up a lot of attention from low ground main here. So Vesuvius certainly have their gameplay. They have to make this dive and landing directly on perfectly timed Zuzu out from Swag Daddy just to keep the team alive for a few moments longer and hopefully spend a couple of these ultimates that seem to be burning holes in their pockets. Vesuvius, however, already rolling with this Primal Rage. And it is going to be the finish-up kills onto the support line. Only Jubs falling so far on the side of Vesuvius here. Shadowy, however, does get a bit too close for comfort. That disruptive shot doing so much work for Kind, but so low on the side of low ground main here are the remaining members. So despite the push coming through, a bit of distance gained here from Pred does have access to this pulse bomb. But I would certainly bid a hasty retreat if I were this Tracer. And yep, doing the exact same thing that Grappalot was doing. Yeah, not able to get away this time, however.
Not quite able to escape was Pred right there. And again, it's 102 to 39 right now. Low ground main just cannot string multiple fight wins together. They have 5 ultimates here, but I mean, that's going to be tough to do anything with when you got a blade in your face. Never mind, Kind.
Yep, Kind there with the railgun shot and did not have to spend the overclock to do it just yet here. So this is very much a strong opening here for low ground main, but that bot needs to get turned around and in no time fast here. Really need to do a good job of rotating this towards the midpoint so we can actually hopefully get a cap here. They're looking for that forward spawn to be gained, and crucially, they spent not a single ultimate in this fight.
Yeah, and they're going to have a Kitsune Rush to match Balake's Kitsune Rush here, which is going to be crucial. Overclock coming online right now for Kind.
Kind here on the high ground, hoping to find an airborne ham sandwich. Does just that. Cleans up the Lucio, who was just about to build up towards that sound barrier. So incredible value being gained from that ultimate there. Pred as well has dropped the pulse bomb. And a couple kills in your pocket is a good price for a couple DPS ultimates there, especially considering how far behind low ground main are. They still have to make up 50 meters worth of distance.
Yeah, realistically, that's one more fight at least, if not 2 more. You do have the bomb and both of your support ultimates online, but you have to deal with both support ults and a Primal Rage about to be available on the other side.
Yeah, and that is going to be the rush coming through, but Jub's falling down immediately as this one gets kicked off. Shadowy, however, not at all bothered by losing a DPS. Clean goes for the backline. Alongside, benefiting from that Primal Rage, turns out to be plenty to lane 2, make it 3 kills here for the Winston. So, a bunch of damage coming through onto the tank player on the side of Vesuvius, so it does have to back up and get healed up just a smidge, but with the cleanup kills coming through, Pred falls, and that is, again, not at all the position low ground may need to be in here. They only gained nearly 70 meters, still 30 shy of a victory.
Yeah, and being stuck in a position where Vesuvius is going to have this forward spawn again, well, no. Looks like High Quality is actually in a good position to deny that forward spawn. This is actually going to be really key here, and you have Kitsune Rush online as well if you're low ground main for this next fight.
Yeah, incredible placement here from low ground main. Really solid work getting back to the fight in just the nick of time here. Grappalot falling down, and Ham Sandwich very close to falling himself. So that is going to be the cleanup kill. Is he going to get it? Yes, Jubs does fall. High Quality does not let a DPS get away scot-free here. Absolutely incredible work here. Excellent chase coming out. And we're, again, collapsing onto the remaining members here of Vesuvius. Low ground main have hit a new gear, and they have just not stopped whatsoever, and they are in a good position here to make some excellent progress, maybe even match pace with Vesuvius.
It is very possible here. Ham Sandwich does have this sound barrier online. I think that's going to be the key ultimate here for Vesuvius. Granted, it's the only ultimate available right now, but it has to be used perfectly to just stop the side of low ground main from getting this lead there, getting close.
This rush buying time and distance, but you have to counter the sound barrier leads into all 5 members of Vesuvius. Low ground main have to back away, but Kai not able to escape in time here. That overhealth finally burns away, and Shadowy is so dangerously low. If you can take down this Winston, this fight might just be salvageable. Not only, but you get the ham sandwich and Jubs. That is value and then some, folks. The overtime wick has begun to burn here, and with 2 bodies down, only Shadowy can really contest this bot, but that is not enough. The Winston falls, and so do the hopes of Vesuvius, rescuing a map from the clutches of low ground main, who will go up in the series 2-0 and put themselves at match point.
I mean, low ground main was just not looking up to par with Vesuvius for basically that entire map. The Diva swap comes in from high quality, and all of a sudden, that's really all it seemed to take. Even with Vesuvius continuing to win fights, it was just the positioning of low ground main. It was really that fight in particular where high quality comes in and does not allow the Vesuvius bot to get the forward spawns. That was huge, because then we're at a point where that fight that ends up being won allows low ground main to continue pushing the bot forward instead of having to go back to that midpoint and fight again.
Yeah, really cannot be overstated how valuable getting that early placement was. Excellent swaps, and, a comp that got there in the end, we'll say, for low ground mains. Folks, we're going to run to a quick break, but do not go anywhere. We'll be right back with a third and potentially final map of this series.
Carpe diem. Carpe diem.
Welcome back, everybody. We are here for the third map between our two teams. We've got Low Ground Mains versus Vesuvius here. All of their hopes for the playoffs are on the line. The victor gets to move on here in our lower bracket. The loser is done for the season. That is it. So, of course, we have Low Ground Mains in pole position here, up 2 maps to Vesuvius's 0, unfortunately. 0 maps so far for them gained, but they, of course, are determined to turn things around here for our third map of the series, which looks as though it is going to be Gibraltar.
Very different side. Very different kind of map from what we've played so far. It's most similar to an Esperanza, I would say, between the two maps, but there's no map that's really quite like a Gibraltar, you know? It's such a heavy dive map, and you can't really play anything else. You're kind of forced into a dive composition here. I don't know, I'm partial to Winston myself, so I tend to err more towards the Winston style dives, but again, the Diva and the Wrecking Ball is going to now be available for Vesuvius on this map. It's no longer bannable by Low Ground Main, so this could get interesting.
Yeah, of course, we've had our bans all ready for the previous maps, so we're looking at having some of these heroes back in the game here. Of course, Cassidy doesn't see as much play here on the first point of Watch Point Gibraltar. We're really mostly looking at the Ashe or even the Widowmaker, honestly, at long range here. Some of these teams love to run this Freya, so there's still plenty of flexibilities to be had. But as we look at the bans themselves here, we've already seen some pretty heavy-hitting ones out the gate here. This Wrecking Ball being back in the swing of things for Vesuvius should mean that things will be very much more in their control, but Gibraltar, while it is possible for you to run the Wrecking Ball here, it's not the best place for it. There's still plenty of answers to be had for this very unique dive hero that he is.
I like the ban from Vesuvius here too, getting rid of that Diva. If you're going to play the Wrecking Ball, Diva is the best counter to what Wrecking Ball is trying to do, so getting rid of Diva makes total sense to me. And the same thing with the Winston, right? If you want to play a Winston dive, you'd rather have a Winston mirroring you as opposed to having to deal with a Diva that's doing something different from you. So I really like this pick. Low Ground Main going to be banning now. And this is a tough spot. I don't really know what you go for here. Like, maybe you go for an Ashe ban. We've seen Gravelot do really well on that hero so far, but it's going to be Freya, actually.
Yeah, Freya can really take over Watch Point Gibraltar here. Honestly, on a lot of these maps where you have the flexibility of the skybox available to you, Freya can just do so much work, can really be such a nuisance here. For these squishier targets, for these more, stationary targets, especially if you're trying to run an Ashe to counter a lot of what your opposition's running, you do not want to have crossbow bolts heading for her head there. So, yeah, I totally get this ban coming out here from Low Ground Main. Vesuvius, though, I think they've made the stronger play in banning the Diva.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, we saw how crazy good High Quality was on that Diva last map. I do believe High Quality has just as good of a Winston in their back pocket as well, but the Diva is just so good at just completely taking any DPS you want out of the game entirely. right? Like that's also why you have to ban Freya, because you don't have Diva to go and deal with that as easily anymore. So it's a really smart ban from low ground main to get rid of that hero as well. You can mirror an Ashe and kind of just have Ashe duels going on off in the distance, but having to deal with, as you said, a Freya in the skybox just constantly landing these crossbow bolts from across the map is not ideal.
No, so yeah, very valid ban coming through, and honestly, a really it could be a solid indication as to how you want to run this thing. Again, I'm thinking of that incredible defensive capability that low ground mains have shown for us so consistently here in these first two maps in the series. Of course, neither of these maps so far had what is technically an attack or defense portion to it, but we've really seen them operate best when they're able to hold an objective, hold some high ground area, and just able to bat away any aggression out here from Vesuvius, who, again, have not always found themselves equal to the task. At the very last minute there on Esperanza, everything kind of fell apart once we had control finally back in low ground main's hands.
Yeah, one thing I'll definitely give low ground main is they follow the process, right? It's like they know if A happens, then we're gonna do B, we're gonna do C, so on and so forth. They're really good at doing that flowchart style of gameplay. And it's actually looking like Vesuvius gonna opt for that Winston as well, probably feeling like you were saying the Wrecking Ball isn't necessarily the best pick on this map, but we feel stronger in a Winston mirror than we do letting high quality continue to run rampant on that Diva.
Yeah, and of course, I mean, throughout the majority of Esperanza, the Winston was so supported that you really were finding a lot of value against that Diva, but in just a basic coming out the gates sort of dive map, you do favor Diva 9 times out of 10 here. So seeing the mirror is certainly a better angle to take things here. Of course, on the defense first, here is Vesuvius. They do have that Brig on a backline, of course, playing bodyguard to each other, but high quality already starting to push the cart just a little bit more forward here. The Ashe out from Gravelat has to only really worry about Pred here at range. And of course, once Kind gets in a good position, but of course, this is point A, which means that Tracer will be on the payload, sending it through the ever-dangerous car wash position here. You do have Shadowy dropping down from the high ground to take a bit of a duel here against high quality. An anti-nade out here from Balake does mean that you're going to force everyone from low ground mains back just a few months longer. This low ground Ashe coming through is just enough to force out Gravelat's position, allowing Kind to snap up that Ashe here. Yeah, this is not exactly where you're expecting to see a Tracer as long as the cart is moving. So yeah, that is going to be more kills coming through as low ground mains just doing a solid job in their offense. Jub's not even able to get away with that Genji's life intact.
And it's like I said before, right? The thing that low ground main has been doing at an elite level for this entire series is just their positioning and just being where you don't think they're going to be. You mentioned it before, Kind just suddenly in your face on this Tracer mid-fight. You weren't expecting that, but here it is. They're already there waiting for you. And then look at high quality already positioning on this high ground.
A late stagger kill onto Ham Sandwich as that last fight was dying down, the next gearing up. I mean, that is going to put such a damper. Finally, you have that break back in the fight, but that is another 10 seconds and so much distance burned off the clock here. But Nancy Nate out here from Balake, again, already proving to be very solid with this Ana pick. It's been crucial here to set things up for the defense, and just at the nick of time as well. We still have some kills coming through, but it looks as though committing here the Primal Rage should be enough to clean things up for the defense, but they're facing down a suite of 5 ults coming into this next fight with a payload that is a mere 5 minutes away from the objective.
Yeah, this is the tough spot to be in if you're Vesuvius. You have to play this incredibly well. You have a nano available. You pretty much at this rally as well. If you can deny this Winston dive from low ground main with this nano that I expect to be coming in here, that's going to be the key.
Nasty sleeping nade onto Shadow. He has to back up to the safety of the rest of the squad, which gives so much room for low ground mains to work with here. And again, they don't need much room to work with. That payload is right there. The bob out from Pred, forcing more positioning. And this nano is on Shadowy, who's mostly just looking for someone to shoot and not really coming up with a whole lot until you head back to the payload. But you just found your team in ribbons. Ham Sandwich and Gravelet get blasted to bits, while that payload just gently slots its way to a point A cap. And that is going to be the hangar section unlocked with early positioning gain for low ground main.
I mean, there goes that elite positioning from low ground main again, right? We watched Shadowy get nanoed and just kind of be walking around because, Well, what happened? Low ground main already scattered. They expected that nano to come in. They knew what they were going to do already. Kind already knew, hey, it's my job to go push this cart. Let me go force this cart position. Force Ham Sandwich to use this rally and not get much value out of it. It was just great plays all around. And then the stagger kill onto Shadowy, just continuing the dominance.
I have rarely seen a Winston so dejected in a corner there. We do have a Bob, I believe, in that small room with crucially half of low ground main squad here. So value very much gained as the Bob cleans up two and Jubs combines for a third. That is going to be this first push repelled here. Low ground main have to rethink their approach, and now finally Vesuvius get a chance to breathe.
And that's exactly what Vesuvius needed. Big play there from Gravelot. As you mentioned, the Bob going in the tiny room with all of low ground main, just layering in so much damage. And now we're at a spot where Jubs has this blade online. Could be big time here. And High Quality gonna have this Primal Rage available. But again, Kind just continuing to get this free cart push all through second.
Yeah, forcing the issue on the payload into high ground, but a solid sleep there onto High Quality should provide them a bit more wiggle room here. But that Bionade onto Jubs. This Genji here is playing on a wing and a prayer. Does get the kill to Swag Daddy, but pays for it with his life. So a trade for 1-1, but down to support. You certainly do favor that for the side of Vesuvius here. That Primal Rage once again chicken here away for Shadowy. Falls so low, has to get away, not able to do so. Kind gets the clean up onto that opposing Winston, and low ground main find themselves in a solid position to start this push. And Vesuvius here are down their tank.
It's a tough spot to be in. You have the nano and the rally available to you, but low ground main has everything. Kind, the pulse bomb does go wide, but Pred manages to take down Jubs.
Yeah, Jubs gets away for a few moments, but not very long at all, as this Bob ready to go should be a solid way to lock up this objective. Or again, you do find Shadowy in this small room. Still has a lot more tools to get away, so I wouldn't perhaps put it in here so much. But the backline being taken down early, I mean, has to be said that Vesuvius, when they get these fight wins here, it is clinical. They know exactly who to take down first. They are focused on that backline, but Ham Sandwich and Pred falling in equal measure here with that Bob forcing the issue on the objective. Still not enough to push it home into point B.
Great plays from Vesuvius right there. As you said, just doing a good job of keeping Balake alive right there, not allowing your Ana to really get dove upon that entire fight. Really great play. It does cost you what was left of your ultimates, so you don't have anything available here for this next fight. Low ground main is going to have their nano boost online as well as their Primal Rage.
This is their best chance to work with, but an early aggression out here from Shadowy does eat a Bionade for his trouble, but the kills come through as an Nano Winston surging forward onto the objective. 3 already have fallen for Vesuvius, make that a 4th. So that is going to be a full team kill, all 5 taken down, and not a moment too soon. We just have a minute and 50 here in the time bank to push into C.
Oof. You at least made it to C on this map. Gibraltar is notoriously difficult to get through like any of the points, let alone getting to third. This last corner of third, probably the hardest spot to get through on this map. You've got a Primal online for low ground main, but you don't really have much else. Getting the kill onto Gravelot is massive, though.
I mean, that is just all your long-range pressure essentially gone. Balake, however, is not deterred. Says there's another sniper still in the server getting that crit kill onto Pred. I see that perk choice there, but Shadowy here with the Primal Rage yet again has built up to these so quickly, whether it's from the back of the nano or just pure raw damage coming through. Able to hold the door against a, yeah, you said it yourself, this is such a defensible position for Vesuvius.
It absolutely is, and only having to use the Primal is massive because now you got Bob and you've got Nano online. Pulse Bomb comes out from Kind, doesn't catch anything there.
Now, High Quality has Power Rage ready to go as well, but just the rally as well here for low ground main. So they have to find an early pickoff. Again, Pred's been so good at finding these out, but to rely on that every single fight is far from a guarantee. Does get Jubs, but you've already lost Saucer, who did not quite build up towards that rally. Despite getting 2 kills, they're traded in equal measure on the opposing side. Make that a 3rd here. So, yeah, low ground mains might have an opening. The Bob does come out from Gravelot, but the objective here is still putting in some solid work. However, a bunch of damage being laid in. They have to play carefully around this bubble and around the payload. Finally, the Bob beat the hasty retreat, and that is going to be the push continuing here for low ground main.
Gravelot swapping off of the Ashe, going onto the Tracer. I like the pick here. It's going to put some real pressure on the Pred. You're going to be able to match Kind as well. Pred going to have this Bob online. Should be big time for helping push this card in.
Yeah, there goes the Bob. It's a perfect spot, exactly where he wants to go, back against the wall. Pred has to play a bit careful with that health bar. That is the Genji out from Jubs, hungry to finish off this blade and does not get it before the whip shot kill of Saucer. Cleans up that Genji just in the nick of time. And just when it looked like it might be defensible, low ground mains push and push and push some more. They force it over the objective. That is going to be a full cap in overtime for the team in red. Low ground mains, when the chips are down, they certainly play their best.
And they just do it every single time, it seems like. It feels like Vesuvius has like such a control over every map. And then out of nowhere, low ground main just gets an early kill that they haven't gotten for the whole map. Just like, it hasn't happened the whole map. All of a sudden, you're getting an early kill on a Gravelot. You're getting an early kill on Balake just out of nowhere. Like, it's just insane, the clutch factor that's been coming through from low ground main so far.
Yeah, again, they just find that turnaround in the very final moments there. Of course, this one was a bit more consistent all the way through, but it went down to the final 30 seconds to get it into point B, and of course, overtime into point C, it does not get closer than that. So, really solid work here, really finding that extra gear to shift into when things are looking direst. You can really just count on Pred to find those opening picks and count on high quality combined with that support line to really put yourself in just the right position to find that thread of victory and follow it all the way through. I'm really impressed with, as we said here, the clutch potential from this team. Vesuvius now, they're the ones with the tall order of pushing all the way into point C on their own offense here again on their third map choice in a row.
Yeah, it looks like Jub's going to be using this Sim TP to get their supports across to the opposite high ground. But are they going to continue to pick that Sojourn that we saw them pick here? Interesting. Kind going to be on this Widowmaker, and that's going to be a tough thing against this Winston. Balake getting Pred already, though.
Yeah, that's a brutal start here for low ground maze Vesuvius. You are more than pleased with that. That is essentially free reign to keep pushing this cart and also find yourself some excellent high ground potential as we already Shadowy forcing everyone back on the side of low ground mains. They're doing everything they can to repel this Winston, but it is taking all their cooldowns, all their sustain and mechanics here, and Kind just not able to find the picks so far. Really been forced into the background. Finally there, does come alive, gets Jubs. Swag Daddy rather, is falling dangerously low, has to get bailed out by the rest of the team, and Shadowy is the one to fall instead. A Winston versus everybody else, and Kind is just there to find the finish. Just again, when things look their most dire, it's like low ground main have a playbook in their hands of exactly when it would be just coolest for them to turn things around.
Yeah, you know how you yell that somebody's won into your chat? That was actually one. That wasn't one, that was actually one. The fact that Swag Daddy lived through that in any capacity is absolutely insane. I would be livid if I was Shadowy right now. There's no way. Maybe I die, yes, but there is no way that Shadowy lives through all of that. Insane play from low ground main.
Infrasight's up again, just buying so much time here. Ham Sandwich on this Zenyatta, trying to find that benefit from the Discord especially, and of course some plenty more long-range poke damage. That is going to be a Bionade, and the cleanup kill is there. High-quality snipes with that secondary fire. Shadowy clean out of the sky. More time burned off the clock here. Vesuvius just keep getting themselves stymied at every turn, losing Jubs. A late stagger as they're trying to push under the car wash. Crucially have not made it to the other side.
No, they're in a really tough spot right now. Low ground main gonna have the nano boost and the rally available to them. Pulse bomb does come out though. Pred and Gravelot trading with each other right there. Getting the pulse kill into the other tracer has to feel good though if you're Pred.
No, certainly the case. I'm sure you blink right into it. That's not at all exactly the person you're hoping to find there, but low ground main still looking like they're in a solid position on this defense, but it's the Primal Rage from Shadowy determined to knock everyone off this high ground. Nano instead onto high quality, just building up towards the Primal Rage of his own. That Discord Orb does so much damage on a Winston, and that is exactly the value being gained from the Zenyatta here. The rally roller from Saucer is enough here on the low ground. Let's see if it's able to sustain any further. They're still down a tank, so Briggs gonna have to do in the meantime here. Kind is not at all having a good time playing in such close quarters, and that is the best place to find a Oh, Widowmaker here. If you are a Winston, you are just delighted to see them line up like dominoes falling before you. And that is down to a single minute here in the time bank for this first push here on point A. But it looks as though there's enough tools in the bank here for Vesuvius. That overclock is just where it needs to be. Cleaning up the remaining members one by one. Jubs coming alive on this Sojourn pick. Kind falls, as well does Pred. That should be just enough to lock things up. Point A with not a second to spare. 30 down and 3 minutes in the bank.
This is a really tough spot to be in for low ground main because you don't have any ults after that, right? High Quality goes in with that primal to try and stall out that fight a little bit. You almost kind of want that primal back a little bit because you don't have much to work with now. And you don't even force out Transcendence there. So Ham Sandwich has a free Transcendence in this next fight. And that's a really strong ultimate to just have on your side.
Yeah, and High Quality just facing so much damage anytime you go in on these dives here. That Discord Orb is crucial for Vesuvius just to stay alive in these fights. The stick is massive, but Ham Sandwich has that get out of jail free card in the Transcendence. The kick kill onto Pred, insult to injury there. Truly proving that Tracer is getting no value from life or death, but Swag Daddy is able to clean up Shadowy, however does fall for the trouble as Gravelot there is so hungry on this Tracer, determined to find out Pred and beat in that mirror. Salt, however, puts an end to those aspirations, but still Ham Sandwich killing out High Quality almost every single time.
It's really tough because that extra damage is just so much more than you're used to. And I mean, you can just see how crazy the damage is coming out from this Zenyatta right now. You do manage to get that ult out though, like I said, and here comes Primal Rage. Shadowy just way back in the back line right now with this juggle.
Yeah, I mean, there is still some contest being had on the actual cart as it pushes, but Kind here is not able to set up at an all an advantageous position. High Quality finally gets a kill on Ham Sandwich, but pays for it with your life, so Gravelot is still there pushing this cart. The rest of Vesuvius are all present. Shadowy, however, it's not for a few moments longer for reasons that are being dead in spawn here. Saucer able to hold down the objective just as it's about to roll into point B. We are down to about a minute and change here for the push of Vesuvius. They are so close to continuing this map, but if they lose here, it is all falling apart before them.
Oh yeah, you're getting close to last fight territory. Depending on how long this takes, this could be last fight. You might be able to get a second one out of it. But Kind just continuing to get kill after kill. I mean, it's that clutch factor I keep talking about, right? Kind is just getting these stagger kills right before the side of Vesuvius wants to group up and go in.
It has been a few fights since Kind has been allowed to find those opening picks, but once you get that Widow in position, Kind is not going to let you down. The Nano onto Shadowy, however, might have a thing or two to say about that. That rally is rolling through from the Brig, and Shadowy decides maybe an easier target might be on the menu, but High Quality says we are not done yet. This Discord Orb be damned. We are fighting, cleaning up Balakay. It looks like there might be enough info.
The entire time, Vesuvius could never kill low ground, man. They would get really close to killing them, but they could never just fully deal with them on any one of these maps. But this was a really close series for this to be a 3-0.
Yeah, truly one of those series that the scoreline does not tell the full story. And folks, do not go anywhere. We're going to go to a quick break while we set up some interviews with our teams here. We'll be right back in just a few moments. Welcome back, folks. We are here with our victors interview. We, of course, have two members of the team that just took the series. It is Low Ground Mains. We've got Kind and Swag Daddy 69. The 69, of course, is very relevant here for our purposes. Welcome to the stream, folks. How are we feeling after that victory?
Good. Yeah, feeling good. It was.
Can't feel bad about 3-0.
Yeah, no, not at all.
No doubt. So, yeah, I mean, it was a 3-0 series, but it certainly could have gone a lot quicker. What sort of did it take for you guys to figure out after that first round on Nepal in order to turn things all the way around?
I think they just kind of folded by playing Orisa into the Orisa team, and like we just like Kind said earlier, we kind of just downloaded them after that first round, and it was kind of game from there.
Can't imagine why they wanted to mirror. Like, I feel like it's pretty well known that we're very good at Orisa. I can't imagine why they wanted to mirror that.
Certainly played out in your favor.
Yeah, it definitely did. My question is going to be about something very specific that occurred. I do believe that this was what I witnessed. How 1 HP were you on the defense of Watchpoint Gibraltar when you were running around as this Ana? I swear there was a moment where I was like, there's no way this Winston Taser is not killing you right now. Like, how close were you to dying in that exact moment? And how were you feeling in that moment?
When we were on defense right there, it was, and like we were up by blue box, and they jumped on me. And I was just kind of sitting in the corner. Like the HP got down to 14 was what I saw, and the palms were sweaty right there. But I somehow like made it out alive, and the Winston died for it. I just had the goat brig on my team.
Yep. Shout out Saucer.
Well, and then to look a little bit more forward to your next match, you're going to be having to play against Visored in your next match. Do you have any thoughts about that?
Hopefully,
I mean, I think
last time.
I think we know how it's gonna go. You know.
Here we go. Here we go. Here's the beginning of the end, bro.
It's not. It is what it is. You know. I think we're in like a single elimination now, so
yeah,
somebody's going home, and it's not gonna be us.
Yeah. Stake Theory actually goes insane with low ground main. We only perform when stakes are involved.
All right. Well, if you do make it all the way to the grand finals, who do you want to be the ones that you face up against, the Fallen or Atlas Kesoku?
Well,
probably Atlas.
Yeah, probably Atlas. We wanted Iliad Poseidon. We wanted him.
No, we don't want Iliad Poseidon anymore. I'm done. Now they're out. I can say it, bro. We do not want Iliad Poseidon anymore. We do not want that to you.
Kryptonite. They are kryptonite.
They know something about us. I don't know what it is. They just know.
But yeah, probably Atlas.
They got a mole in the back line. They got someone in our server who's downloading our playbooks. I don't know. They're sign stealing.
Well, fingers crossed that it's going to be Atlas for you guys. But before we let you go, anyone you want to shout out or drop a thanks to?
I'm gonna drop a shout out to my second support yet again. We have the GOAT Brig on our team. Put him in contenders. Like, I don't know, he's goated.
I'm gonna shout out Vesuvius actually, because they really were super cool with like letting us extend like the match deadline or whatever, because I was actually gone for like a week, and it was actually really nice of them to like, they could have probably rule booked us, but I'm really glad they didn't.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah, glad to see some love between the teams here, even though one gets to move on, one has to go home. Thanks so much for joining us, Kind and Swag Daddy. Thank you very much. And of course, best of luck in your next elimination game.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Honestly, Shadow, really glad to hear from those two that they were really feeling themselves the entire way through the series, that despite those moments of closeness, which perhaps were closer than they might have admitted, they really did feel like they had it in their hands all the way through.
And that's how it looked, too. It looked like it was insanely close, but at any moment they could just flip a little switch and just all of a sudden start dominating each individual fight. And that's kind of what we saw as the maps progressed.
Yeah, I kind of find myself wanting to ask if for each individual fight, for each individual moment, how'd you flip that? How'd it go? How did you pull out that clutch potential? But I think the answer is, I think the answer that Swag Daddy would give is that just goated Brig. So what else can you do about it? So, folks, that is going to do it for us here on the stream tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. Again, there's still so much more CGL playoffs action to have in our afternoons. It is, of course, the EU, and in our evenings here, at least for us, East Coast time, it is the NA. So do, of course, stay tuned to our Twitch channel here for whenever those. Of course, there's also CGL2, CGL3. Sometimes a lot of these games run at the same time, so keep your eyes out for that. Still so much more playoffs to come, and of course, grand finals looming on the horizon. So from all of us here, from Rag, Shadowfang, and the Prod team, thank you so much for joining us. We will see you in the next game.